Let's begin. She said it while buttering toast. Not with tension, not with guilt. Just toast, knife, smirk. I'm going on a date, she said, flicking crumbs from her fingers. Try not to be too jealous. I didn't answer right away, mostly because my brain couldn't form words while I watched strawberry jam drip down her plate like a slow, bloody insult. My eye twitched. I thought it was from the kitchen light, but I realized it was rage, or something worse. Humiliation I hadn't earned yet, but felt anyway. She didn't even sit down, just tossed her hair over one shoulder and walked out of the room like she'd dropped off a delivery. As if that sentence, "I'm going on a date," wasn't a grenade in my chest. I wanted to say something. Anything. Instead, I stared at the slice of toast she left behind. It sat on the plate like an afterthought. That's what I was now. An afterthought. She left her phone on the counter. Unlocked. That wasn't a mistake. I knew she wanted me to look. So I didn't. Because if she was playing a game, I wasn't going to move my piece just yet. I just stood there, breathing like someone learning how to use lungs for the first time. My fingers curled around the back of the chair so tightly I thought the wood might snap. 3 hours later, I was still standing in the kitchen. My legs ached. The toast went stale. Her phone lit up once. Unknown number. Then again. Can't wait to see you face blowing a kiss. That was the moment I realized I wasn't the protagonist of this story. I was the footnote in hers. And that's when I made my decision. No yelling. No begging. No drama. Just a quiet, irreversible decision. I didn't follow her that night. I didn't check where she was going or call any friends to find out. I just stood in that kitchen, watching the jam harden like dried blood on porcelain, wondering how long someone could stand still before turning invisible. She wanted a reaction. That's what that smirk was about. That's what "try not to be too jealous" meant. She wanted a fight. Screaming. Guilt. A desperate man clinging to the edge of something that was already gone. But I didn't give her that. I gave her something worse. Nothing. I gave her silence. And silence is louder than anything when it's honest. I walked into the living room and sat in the corner chair, the one we never used because it was too stiff. I didn't turn on the TV. I didn't touch my phone. I just listened. Not for her footsteps coming back, but for the sounds that weren't there anymore. The small laugh she made when she found something online, the soft hum she did when folding laundry, even her irritating fake cough whenever she wanted attention. Gone. I think the house knew she wasn't coming back. The air changed. Colder, but not like temperature. Like the oxygen had been replaced by memory. I didn't sleep that night. I didn't eat, either. I just kept repeating her sentence in my head like it was a riddle. I'm going on a date. Try not to be too jealous. But what she didn't know, what she would never expect, was that she gave that line to the wrong person. See, I don't do jealous. Not loudly. Not in some dramatic, cry-on-the-floor way. No. I do quiet jealous. I do smiling jealous. I do planning jealous. So while she laughed over cocktails with a stranger who didn't know the way her left eyebrow twitched when she lied, I was already writing a script she hadn't read. Because there's one thing she forgot in all her arrogance. I was there when she had nothing. I was there when she borrowed confidence from my love. And I know exactly where all her secrets live. The next morning, I didn't ask where she went. She didn't offer to tell me. She waltzed in like someone coming home from the gym. Hair up, hoodie zipped, lips slightly swollen. My stomach twisted when I noticed the faint shimmer of lip gloss, a shade she only used when she wanted to feel noticed. I kept my back to her while I made eggs I couldn't bring myself to eat. I heard her behind me, pausing, maybe waiting for me to explode. I didn't. I just said, "There's coffee, if you want some," like we were two co-workers who happened to share a kitchen. She made a noise, something between a chuckle and a scoff. "Wow, you're really not going to say anything?" Her voice was almost disappointed. I wanted to turn around and scream. I wanted to ask who he was. I wanted to know if she laughed the same way with him, if she looked at him the way she used to look at me after too many drinks on the porch. But I didn't. I just said, "Nope," and walked past her like a man who had finally accepted being erased. The truth is, I was scared. Not of losing her. I think I'd already lost her months ago. I was scared of becoming the cliché, the crying man begging the woman who already moved on. That wasn't going to be me, because I had something she didn't know about. 3 weeks earlier, I had been looking for my winter gloves under the bed when I found it. Her old phone. She must have forgotten she hid it there. I didn't open it right away. I waited. I kept it charged. I memorized the lock screen pattern the way someone memorizes a final goodbye. I told myself I wouldn't look unless I had a reason. And now I had one. That morning, after she left again, this time without a word, I sat on the edge of the bed and opened the phone. It took 3 tries. The pattern was still her initials, drawn with muscle memory she no longer realized betrayed her. The first message at the top read, "Tell him yet? Or still playing house?" My hands shook. I clicked on the thread. And I wish I hadn't. The screen glared back at me, far too bright for how cold my body felt. My thumb hovered, trembling, over the messages as if touching them would burn me. And maybe it did. Because the words I read weren't just betrayal. They were betrayal without hesitation. I hate pretending with him. Can't believe he still thinks we're in love, lol. He's like, furniture now? You don't notice it until it's in the way. Then a photo, blurry, taken from behind. Me, sitting in the backyard, drinking coffee alone. Caption, the ghost of a husband faced with tears of joy. My heart didn't shatter. It collapsed, quietly, like a house that had been hollow for years, finally giving in to gravity. I stared at myself in that photo, back hunched, head down, completely unaware I had become a joke in the background of my own life. And him, the other guy, his replies were worse. So casual, so sure of himself. He'll crack soon. Then we're free. Just say the word, and we'll make it official. Don't get soft. He doesn't deserve an explanation. Soft. I laughed, this low, broken laugh that sounded like it didn't belong to me. That was the word she used behind my back. Not weak. Not confused. Soft. Like I was something melting, or in the way. And maybe I was. I didn't delete the messages. I didn't throw the phone. I copied every single word, every photo, every timestamp, and sent it to an encrypted folder I'd quietly set up a week ago. Just in case. I didn't know what I was preparing for back then, but now? Now I did. I didn't confront her. Not yet. Confrontation was what they expected. Drama, yelling, heartbreak. They were rehearsing for that scene. But I was rewriting the script. That night, I laid beside her in bed. She was already asleep, facing away from me. The room smelled like her shampoo and something unfamiliar. Maybe a new cologne she picked up from him. I stared at the ceiling and thought, if I disappeared tomorrow, would she even blink? And that was the moment I stopped being her husband. The next morning, I left the house at 6:12 a.m. No suitcase, no backpack, no note, just my phone, wallet, and the knowledge that staying another day would reduce me to something I couldn't come back from. Not a man, not even a shell of one. Just noise. Background noise she'd eventually mute forever. She was still asleep when I stood in the hallway, keys in hand. Her mouth slightly open. Her breath slow and selfish. Like someone who hadn't betrayed anyone. Like someone who still believed she was the main character in a story that didn't involve consequences. I stood there for 3 whole minutes, watching her from the doorway. I didn't feel hate. I didn't feel love. I felt something colder, something I later realized was acceptance. The kind that makes your spine go rigid and your hands go still. You realize the person in front of you isn't coming back because they were never gone. You were just never invited to who they really were. I didn't slam the door. I closed it like I was trying not to wake a ghost. Outside, the street smelled like wet asphalt and bad choices. I didn't have a plan. I just walked. For the first hour, my feet moved faster than my thoughts. But eventually, the noise in my head caught up. Things she'd said. Things I hadn't noticed. The way she flinched when I touched her. The fake laugh she used at dinner. The eye roll when I mentioned weekend plans. It was all there. I just didn't want to believe it then. I ended up at a train station. I don't even know how. I bought a ticket to a town I'd never been to, picked the furthest stop I could find on the screen. The guy behind the counter asked if I needed change, and I just nodded like my body was on autopilot. I didn't call anyone. Not my brother. Not my coworkers. Not even my boss. The phone vibrated once, her name, but I let it ring. Let it die. Because I knew that whatever she was going to say, it wasn't going to be, "I'm sorry." It was probably something like, "Where'd you go?" Or worse, "Don't be dramatic." But I wasn't being dramatic. I was finally being quiet. The kind of quiet people remember. I was halfway through my 3rd coffee in a diner I didn't know the name of when her message finally came through. She hadn't called again. Just sent one line, simple and sharp. If this is a guilt trip, it's not working. I reread it 3 times, hoping the meaning would change, like the words might rearrange themselves into something softer. They didn't. It was what it was, her way of telling me she'd already moved on, and I was the one dragging my feet through the past. The waitress, a woman named Dee with silver nail polish and a raspy voice, asked if I wanted anything else. I almost said a time machine, but I shook my head and watched her walk away. I think she knew I wasn't okay. She didn't ask. She just brought me a fresh plate of fries on the house. I almost cried over potatoes. Her message sat on my screen like it was taunting me, like even the phone had chosen sides. I typed out 5 different replies. The first was begging. The second was rage. The third tried to be clever. The fourth was just a series of dots. And the fifth? The fifth simply said, "You didn't even look for me." I stared at it, then deleted it. What was the point? She wasn't looking for me. Not emotionally. Not physically. Maybe not ever again. And that was when it clicked. She wasn't shocked that I was gone. She was relieved. She thought I'd crawl back. That I'd return like a stray cat that couldn't survive without the scraps she used to toss my way. But this wasn't a guilt trip. This was escape. And that scared her more than anything. People like her feed off the illusion that you need them. The moment you don't, they panic. Not because they love you, but because their power fades. I turned off my phone and slid it face down. I was done listening to ghosts. She didn't realize it yet, but she had already lost me. Not when she went on the date. Not when she sent the messages. Not even when she called me furniture. She lost me when she stopped pretending I mattered. By the time the weekend rolled around, I wasn't just gone from the house. I was gone from the version of myself she thought she owned. I hadn't told anyone where I was, but I had started following the quiet trail she'd left behind without realizing it. Old phone numbers, saved addresses in her notes app, hidden calendar entries disguised as yoga classes. All the pieces fit together once I stopped being afraid of seeing the full picture. One address popped up twice. A hotel on the other side of the river, the kind of place people go when they don't want to be recognized. I didn't want to go there. Every bone in my body screamed to stay away. But the part of me that had been humiliated, the part she called soft, was done playing dead. That Saturday night, I stood across the street from that hotel with a hood pulled over my head and my hands stuffed in my pockets, trying not to look like a bad TV cliché. The neon sign buzzed like it was laughing at me. Cars came and went. The lobby doors kept opening, letting out waves of perfume and cheap cologne. I hated myself for being there, but I stayed. And then she appeared. Red sneakers again. Black coat. Hair down this time. She wasn't alone. A man followed a few steps behind her, tall, wearing a gray jacket. They weren't holding hands, but there was a rhythm to how they moved, like they'd practiced walking beside each other in secret. My stomach twisted. My first instinct was to yell her name, to run across the street and demand answers. But I didn't. I just watched. I watched her laugh at something he whispered. I watched her brush her fingers across his arm like she used to do to mine. And the longer I watched, the more something inside me started to shift. Not rage, not heartbreak, but this slow, heavy clarity. She wasn't coming back. She had already replaced me. And the only thing left for me to decide was whether I wanted to burn down what was left of our shared life, or walk away without a word. I turned and left before they could see me. For the first time in months, my steps didn't feel like running away. They felt like running towards something else, even if I didn't know what yet. I didn't return to the house. I didn't text her. I didn't even check to see if she'd noticed I was gone. And strangely, I didn't care. Not in a bitter, angry way. In a calm, silent way that only shows up when your heart stops begging for closure. I rented a small room above a bookstore 2 towns over. It smelled like dust and old pages and peace. Every morning, I'd walk to the same diner. Dee still brought me coffee without asking, and I'd read the paper like someone who finally had time to breathe. At night, I'd fall asleep without waiting for footsteps in the hallway or messages that never came. Weeks passed. I didn't count them. One day, I got a letter. No return address, just my name written in her handwriting. Inside, only one sentence. "You didn't fight for me." I laughed, genuinely, for the first time in what felt like years. Because that's what she never understood. I did fight. I fought for us when things got boring. I fought for us when she pulled away. I fought in silence, in effort, in staying. She just never saw it, because I wasn't fighting the way she wanted, loud, desperate, dramatic. She mistook peace for weakness. And that's why she lost. A few days later, I donated the last box of her things I'd brought with me. No ceremony. No fire. Just a quiet goodbye to a chapter that didn't deserve a sequel. And now? I'm okay. Better than okay. I still drink too much coffee. I still flinch at certain smells. And I still have dreams where I'm back in that kitchen with the jam and the toast. But I wake up free. And that makes all the difference. If you made it to the end of this story, thanks for listening. Tell me in the comments, what moment shocked you the most? Was it the photo, the hotel, or her final message? I read every reply. And hey,